9. Time to talk the issues of the day and other things that are around about with Russell Brown at publicaddress.net and the Hard News blog there and Media 7 show, TVNZ7. Morning, Russell.
Good morning.
Good morning. First up, let's talk about this event on the way called Voyage.
No, it's called The Voyage of a Lifetime.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, and you can find it at thevoyage.co.nz.
Okay, what is it?
Basically, it's a discussion about economic policy that won't be anywhere near as boring as that sounds. I think, discussion of economic policy is actually quite a difficult thing to do in a way that appeals to people.
Yeah.
And the Fabian Society have been doing that for a while, and they've had some really good speakers, but aren't perhaps capturing the people they want. No, I was talking to some of them earlier this year, and we thought, well, maybe we could do this a different way. So we've got this event on Sunday the 10th of June at Q Theatre, where people will hear from Bernard Hickey, Rod Oram, John Wally, and Rick Boven. And it will basically be, looking at the idea of, is there actually an alternative to the government's current economic strategy? Because I think one of the problems with the debate about economics is that it's often presented as if the neoliberal paradigm is the only thing that could possibly be done. And that's certainly what you get out of Treasury. So I think it's actually quite valuable if you actually start to hear some other perspectives. And and some of the people behind this, aren't. I mean, people like Selwyn Pellett, who's involved with the Fabians, he's a successful businessman. So it's not like, these people actually know what they're talking about. And Bernard Hickey and Rod Oram, I think people will know. John Wally and Rick Boven less so. But we have structured the event. I've worked with them on it. I'll be emceeing it. So that it's accessible to people, and also so that it'll actually be quite an enjoyable thing to do of a Sunday afternoon. Miriam Clancy's going to play, and there'll be time for people to socialise and network and meet each other. And it's free.
Which is nice. It's at Q Theatre as well. So the
Voyage...
Voyage...
at Q Theatre, that was another thing. Make the venue really accessible.
Yeah, the Voyage
so
of a
right there
Lifetime.
on Queen Street. And it's going to be in the big theatre as well, so we've got room for lots of people. Because that's a marvellous venue, Q Theatre. The first time I'd actually been into one of the function spaces was for the Tate Music Prize.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is good.
It's a very nice space. So the challenge is to make it not for the league of pointy-headed people.
Yeah, but still have substance and truth in there.
Yeah.
But just to make the whole event actually something that people can enjoy. So, not to bury it off in a lecture theatre and the university where people, aren't used to going, but to put it right on Queen Street, make it in an afternoon, and actually even have some entertainment afterwards.
And without TVNZ7 in the future, it'll be these kind of public forums.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a really healthy thing if people if this became a thing, if people got used to the idea of going out to hear ideas discussed and to participate. I think that would be really healthy.
Yeah.
And maybe, some future public broadcaster could start to capture these on camera.
Indeed. It's a good point. In the meantime, they could put them up digitally.
Yeah.
Media 7 this week looking at cartoonists in the daily papers.
Yeah. And the thing that got us going on this was actually the Trace Hodgson cartoon that appeared, I think 2 weeks ago now in the Dominion Post, which puts Paula Bennett, Welfare Minister or Minister of Social Development, in the same frame as Dr. Joseph Mengele, the infamous Nazi doctor. We were quite surprised at the lack of reaction to this. Apparently a few more words were said behind the scenes, we've now discovered, but I think it was an interesting illustration of the way that that editorial cartoonists can get away with things that, say, columnists or editorial writers could not.
Yeah.
If an editorial had compared Paula Bennett to Joseph Mengele, there probably would have been a complaint to the Press Council. It would have been a scandal, and yet we accept, and we always have actually. I mean, that's one of the interesting things about editorial cartoons. We accept that maybe they'll go places that written opinion won't. So we've got Trace Hodgson in the studio, along with Rod Emerson from the Herald, who I think has actually been doing some pretty good stuff lately. I liked his parody of the Time magazine cover, the breastfeeding one. where John Banks was the breastfeeding child.
That's
and
right.
John Key was the mother. And an illustrator called Anna Crichton, who I hadn't known that much about before, but she's really good. You see her, she illustrates Dita DeBoni's columns in the business section of the Herald. And she's avowedly not a cartoonist, but I think she's a very good editorial illustrator. So she brings another perspective. And I think that's actually going to be quite an interesting show, because you never hear from the cartoonists. They're often quite reclusive.
Yes, indeed. But as you say, so important down through history, not only in New Zealand but around the world. You think about the cartoons around World War II at the time were so important in explaining the situation and explaining the stuff that really goes unsaid.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, you can say in a good editorial cartoon, you can say, it's the picture paints 1,000 words.
Yeah.
That is literally what a good editorial cartoon is. And when you look at, particularly the British tradition, Steve Bell in The Guardian, Gerard Scarfe drew the most vicious cartoons during Margaret Thatcher's reign of her.
Yeah.
It's astonishing that they never actually that he wasn't sort of, dragged into court or something. But he wasn't, and that I think those were quite valuable works. So, yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it tonight.
Kind of like the role of the Joker in the King's Court, eh?
Yeah, it is. It's the Joker, but with a bit more of a point.
Yeah. Finally, Free the Street campaign indeed did free the street.
Indeed, following on from the Arab Spring.
Sure.
Basically, a friend of mine, Gemma Gracewood, who spends most of her time in New York, was feeling the pain about being in New York, and it was going to be her birthday, and she couldn't see the 20th anniversary feature-length episode of Shortland Street because of, on TVNZ On Demand, and for perfectly good licensing and distribution reasons, it's geo-blocked outside New Zealand. So Toby Manhire, the listener, and I knocked up a hashtag and achieved success almost as soon as we'd begun, actually. We got the attention of John Barnett at South Pacific Pictures and the people at TVNZ, and they overnight negotiated with their international distributors for a 48-hour window, which I think will still be open. If you know anyone overseas, they can, for about another 24 hours, watch that episode from anywhere in the world. So this was actually a really fun thing to do, I must say. It was nice to get a result like that, and it seems that there's quite a few expats appreciative of the ability to do it.
A victory there for social media.
Indeed.
Nice one, Russell. Thanks very much.
Okay, cheers, matey.
Publicaddress.net and the hard news blog there on the publicaddress.net, and also Media 7 Show TVNZ7, and apologies for the line towards the end of that conversation.